Hello, everybody. Alex here from WeatherXM. Today, we'll be talking to our native Web3 analyst at WeatherXM. This is Panayotis. Panayotis, say hello to our community.
Hi, Alex. How our community? You're starting you're getting good at this.
Well, this is, I think, the fourth video I've shot, so we're trying to make progress on transparency here. So to that end, we wanted to talk to our Web3 analyst, and we do have a token, so I think it's important to give updates to everyone on it. And there's nobody to better do that than you. So with that, maybe we can just start from the beginning. Maybe you can give an overview of why we launched a token in the first place.
Yeah, sure. Well, the way we envisioned WeatherXM is that there is a whole economy around the weather data that we collect. And in order to make this economy work, we needed a token, which is WXM. So on the day that we launched the token, which was the end of May, a few months ago, I think we actually kickstarted the economy. And roughly, the main idea is that weather stations get rewarded in WXM for the data they contribute. The data are collected by the WeatherXM Association, and the association auctions data licenses that allow the licensees to use the data commercially. So there's a full circle there, and we have, based on the tokenomics, we have tokens to reward stations for the next 10 years, station owners. But the idea is that through these auctions that are paid in WXM, the association will collect more funds, and by that time that it would eventually be out of WXM, the treasury will have more WXM to keep on rewarding the station owners.
Gotcha. Okay. And so maybe you can tell me, more about the token use case specifically, right? You mentioned a little bit about these data auctions, but maybe you talk about the licensing. So I don't know if everyone's even aware of, what they're doing when they receive a reward and, who owns the data when they collect it.
Great. Yeah, sure. And the timing is perfect because today we're announcing the second data licensing auction, which will be the auction for 2025. The idea is that the stations collect data, they contribute this data to the network, and the WeatherXM Association becomes the owner of the data in exchange for the WXM tokens that the stations are rewarded. Now, these data, they are stored on Filecoin, and they are accessible by anyone. The catch is that they are accessible by anyone if you don't want to do if you don't want to use them in a commercial context. So if you want to use them to sell a service, to improve your product, or to build another service on top of it, you have to get one of the licenses. Now, instead of setting a fixed price for the license, we decided that since this is a new area and a new project and a new concept, we decided that there will be an auction. The auction works a lot like the spectrum auctions in the US and in many other countries, where the state says, okay, I have this spectrum available, who is interested in getting access to it, and companies bid for the license. In the same way, we have 3 licenses that are auctioned once a year, and the licensees get the privilege, get the right to use the data of the network commercially for 1 year. The terms of the license may change in the future. We've had some feedback that, building something on top of the data requires an investment that someone may not be willing to do only for a year without knowing that they will have access to the data for more than a year. So this is something that might change, and it will have to change through governance, which is the other use case of the token. So typically it is enabled, but we haven't actually used it yet. But the idea is that the token holders, the token owners, will be able to vote about the governance decisions of the association. And eventually we want the association to become a DAO. An organization that is completely governed by the WXM token holders.
Yeah, and so essentially there's 2 different organizations at WeatherXM right now. One is kind of the association, and there's a for-profit company, correct?
Yes, right. And maybe we did a bad decision with naming there because it's WeatherXM AG, which is the company, and WeatherXM Network Association, which is the non-profit that actually operates the network and owns the data. So having the same name for both of them is a bit confusing, and it's something we might have to reconsider in the future. But the idea is that there is this association, which is a non-profit organization. It's based in Switzerland. This is the entity that rewards the station owners, and this is the entity that collects and owns the data of the network. And there is the company, which is right now doing most of the job. I mean, it's the company that's building the infrastructure, that is designing the weather stations, it's building the weather stations, it's doing almost everything. But the idea is, and this is where we want to go, is that there will be other companies in the future that will do some or all of these things in parallel or competing with our company to make the network bigger, more efficient, and more popular or effective.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And, decentralization, usually it's a process for, at least for a lot of the Web3 companies.
We think that the company right now, WeatherXM AG, is kickstarting and is willing to be the first customer, the first station manufacturer, the first data consumer of the association and the ecosystem, in order to show to the rest of the world that there is value here, there are opportunities, and hopefully others that are even more capable than us or have other plans will join the project.
Absolutely. Yeah. And subjects a little bit here. I think people usually want to talk about price when it comes to token. So what can you tell us about the price of WXM?
Well, yeah, okay. It is our policy not to talk about the price. And the reason is that actually we don't have any say on the price, but I can talk about the value of the project. I mean, if you look at this ecosystem that we describe, obviously the value comes from the data auctions. And in a future where we will have many parties competing to get these licenses, and they will have to pay in WXM, and they will need WXM to buy these licenses, obviously this value will go back to the ecosystem. Like I said before, it is our company right now who is trying to kickstart this whole ecosystem. So we got a license in June, I think. It was the first, it was a trial. It was something to see how this thing works. And obviously we're planning to bid for a license now in this auction for 2025. And we see that there are a lot of directions and a lot of areas where the data of the WeatherXM project will be valuable. And we're also building and opening new inroads. I mean, we see that there is a future, there is an area in weather derivatives, which is actually a huge market. It's already a huge market. Weather derivatives are, in a way, bets or hedges about the weather. So if my business depends on good weather, and if the weather is bad for this summer or for this winter, I will be in a bad position. Then there are weather derivatives that I can buy and know that if this weather event happens, I will get some more money back. So it's usually a hedge. There are also weather insurance. There's also weather insurance, which is more strict, and it's used in many areas, from agriculture, which is the obvious example that anyone thinks about. But even in events, whenever there's an event organized, a concert, a football game, etc., one of the risks is that the weather will be bad and it will be cancelled, and the organizers may have to pay back the ticket holders or may lose some money. So they usually make a weather insurance. And we can see all these products that exist in the real world, in the physical world, for many decades. We can see them eventually moving on chain and be more efficient, faster, more transparent. And if they move on chain, then the core element that they need is a weather oracle. Is someone to verify that a weather event happened or didn't happen. And this is where WeatherXM wants to go, to become this party that verifies on-chain what happened and what not. But we're also discussing other directions. I mean, I recently had a discussion with a project. I'm not sure if I can say the name yet. I think we will have an announcement soon that is helping AI engines. It's providing training data to AI engines. So adding a weather data set, a very localized and very reliable weather data set to this training data could be very valuable for projects that are around tourism, for example, or around sports, or how to optimize your golf score, or what's the best day to do your airplane lessons, pilot lessons, or whatever, I don't know. There are so many use cases, and an AI that we expect to answer our questions should be aware of the weather history and the weather conditions in order to be able to answer.
Yeah, I think I was asking Manos and Stratos about an AI weather forecaster bot. I'd like to see something like what is it? Truth Terminal? The Truth Terminal Twitter bot?
Forecasting is something that a lot of people in the company are very passionate about, and it's definitely a direction we're moving. But I think that historical data and also current data, weather data, are also very important. There are many use cases that you want to know what's the weather exactly right now, or what was the weather 5 days ago, or 50 days.
Certainly. Well, I don't want to get... I know we went a little off subject of the token specifically.
This is how value comes to the project, and this is the association captures this value and the token captures the value. So if these things start happening and if you see them being announced and starting being implemented, things are going well.
Absolutely. And so why did you guys decide to go on Arbitrum? Why not Base? Why not, Optimism? Why not Solana?
Look, we're not fanatic about these decisions. I mean, the project started on EVM. So the contracts, the smart contracts were developed in Solidity, and going to an EVM compatible chain was the obvious choice. Now, why Arbitrum? And of course, Ethereum, the mainnet, was too expensive for someone to be able to claim their rewards every day, which are worth a few dollars, so it doesn't make sense. Choosing between the various layer 2 chains, we decided to go with Arbitrum because, like I mentioned earlier, we're interested in this direction where we are a player in these on-chain weather derivatives, and Arbitrum seems to be the place where most of DeFi action and innovation happens. So, and these derivatives will be DeFi related, and we wanted to be there. Plus the liquidity that is available on Arbitrum, it made sense. Now, I've often been asked, why don't you come to Solana? Why don't you go to Base, to ZK Sync, to what? I don't think that picking a chain will change very much the core concepts and the economics and the future of our project. We are not, the future of the project depends on the demand of the weather data and the expansion of our physical network. So we don't want to invest any more resources in evaluating other chains at this moment. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, we may reevaluate.
When you guys were first just designing the token economy in general, which DeepIn projects did you most look to for inspiration?
I think that regarding DeepIn at a high level, Helium was a big inspiration for sure. When it comes to the tokenomics, we decided it was a very long process, and we evaluated not just DeepIn projects, but a lot of projects. And so I couldn't tell you that, we were influenced by this or that, because it was a long and sometimes painful process. So we came up with what we thought was best for the projects, for the setup we had.
Okay, that makes sense. And so tell me about the token liquidity. How's that looking?
Liquidity. I've seen this question come up often. I think that we currently have more than enough liquidity to cover the current demand. I mean, there is a significant volume trading volume, especially in the last days. Things are looking much better, but the current liquidity is more than enough to cover it, and so the traders don't see any significant slippage for the amounts that are traded.
Well,
that said, sorry.
I was going to say, if I'm not wrong, we're primarily on Uniswap and I think Gate. Are those the two main exchanges right now?
Yeah, I think that most of the action happens in Uniswap and Gate. We also have liquidity on MEXC.
So when can we expect? Are there plans to try to increase liquidity? And then also, do you foresee us ever trying to get into any money markets like lending platforms on DeFi specifically?
Yes, this is something that we are considering, and it's something that it's always part of the discussion. But I think that our current focus is in making the project work and creating demand for the data, and as a result for the token too. What I was about to say earlier is that we think that the current liquidity is fine, is sufficient for the trading volume that we see. But if we see that there is increased trading volume and the liquidity is not enough, the idea of incentivizing liquidity or doing something like this will always be on the table. I mean, we can discuss about it. But all of these decisions have costs that are monetary costs, that are costs about the team spending, time and effort to decide, to investigate, to find the right solution. And I think that right now our focus is in driving the network growth and the data.
Okay. Well, I'm sure our community would be upset if I didn't ask this next question. Can they expect any centralized exchange announcements in the upcoming future?
I don't think so. I don't know. I'm not aware of. Maybe. Do you have something in mind, or I don't have something?
I was just curious if you guys. I think they're just
exchanges.
Yeah, I think they're just interested to know, like, are you guys, looking at more centralized exchanges, listings, or things like that? Well, are you in any talks right now with anybody that you can share?
No, and it's always good to have in mind. I mean, there's always someone saying, "But why don't you go to this exchange too? Why don't you go to this DEX too? Why don't you add liquidity there and there?" The problem with this is that the available amount of tokens and funds to be used as liquidity is fixed. So if you go to more than one places, then you have to spread thin, and the slippage in each place where you provide liquidity will be higher. So it's good to have the liquidity concentrated and only go and provide liquidity in another place or service if it actually makes sense and it provides value. Otherwise, you're just hurting the liquidity.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so where can the community go and find out information on token statistics or token information?
Look, we are currently, of course, you can find our page on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko. There is a page in Dune Analytics. I don't know where we have these links. We will probably have to put it in the show notes, where we have diagrams about the tokens, the rewards and the claims and things like that. And obviously the place to start if you want to know more about the token is WeatherXM.network, the WeatherXM Association website. I don't know if
I know we just said
our Explorer. I mean, it's not so much about the token, but it is a good a map of our project. I mean, explorer.weatherxm.com.
You can see how much each station is earning as well, right?
And you can see,
by the way, what's the issuance right now?
The issuance is per day. It's 14,468 tokens per day. Around 14,000 tokens per day. It's fixed. And this is distributed among the stations that provided data on a specific day.
Okay, perfect. And then last question is, we just had the U.S. election here where I live, right, in the U.S. And do you have any thoughts on how that might affect our token?
Well, I think that, and you can probably be a better source for this, but I think that during the last years, crypto always had tailwinds when it came to regulation in the US. And the expectation and the sentiment is that from next year, the regulation will be more favorable to crypto projects. A lot of people expect that this could trigger a bull market, which is great. Of course, we like bull markets. Everyone likes bull markets. But if you're a project that has already a plan for the next 10 years, you know that there will be periods of a bull market and a bear market. So if it's this year or the next year or the year after that, doesn't make a lot of difference. I think that what's more interesting and very positive is that the sentiment around crypto will probably get better. Up until now, we are talking with a lot of partners or potential partners that have no relation to crypto. They know nothing about crypto. The only thing they know about crypto is that it's kind of shady. It's not, they should be careful. And this hurts any project that wants to do business with them. I think that a good outcome would be that when you say crypto, they would interpret it as innovation, as something that, it's good, it's moving forward, it's doing things in a new way, and not as something shady. And I think this would be actually a very, very helpful outcome.
Absolutely. I would love that as well. But anyways, I think that's going to conclude our discussion today. Hopefully we can have you on again soon to talk to the community more about what's going on in Web3. And do you have any final thoughts or any last message for the community before we drop?
Make sure your station works good. Well, to get all the rewards.
Good advice. Very good advice. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Panos.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you very much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.